And welcome to the Bobcat post-game report. I'm the coach, Dick Cox, on bow tie night again, and I will wrap up. I'm 2-0 tonight with the Gamecock colors tonight. I got Josh Rosen's vote on this. Jadavian Clowney in the house tonight, though, so that helped reinforce what I was doing. The Superman socks put me over the top.
Yeah, definitely. You came strong, and Jerome wasn't ready again, so 2-0 for you. So you got it rolling right now, kind of like the Bobcats.
That's right. Bobcats 2-0 on back-to-back nights now over the Pistons. Playing well right now. This was a team that was breathing down their back. Playoff spot. They got a little cushion now. 2.5 games up on the Pistons.
Yeah, 2.5 games up. A great way to come out and start off the second half after the All-Star break. Bobcats knew that these were two important games, really an important week with 4 games in 5 days. But to come out against a team who's chasing you and put a great performance on the road last night in Detroit, and then to follow it back up tonight by scoring 116 points. Al Jefferson and Kemba Walker with big games. Like the players are saying and the coaches are saying, they're playing their best basketball of the season right now, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Being a former coach, it's not fun playing the same opponents 2 straight games. I mean, because usually if you beat them, then they've got the edge of wanting to come back the next game and all that. It's easy from a standpoint of you don't have to watch film to prepare. You know what's going to happen on that, though. But usually the team that wins the first game is at a disadvantage the second game. The Bobcats came out tonight, got it done, and ended up blowing out the Pistons back-to-back nights. And you could see the Pistons' frustration as Jennings got kicked out of the game at the end of the game.
Yeah, definitely frustrating time for the Pistons. They know their coach has just been recently fired. Things aren't going the way they thought it would go after signing Brandon Jennings to a contract, Josh Smith to a contract. They have good talent on the team, but the talent just doesn't gel well together. And that's one of the things that Coach Clifford for the Bobcats talked about after the game is the chemistry. And the chemistry's clicking for the Bobcats right now, and it's not clicking for the Pistons. And so when that happens, when you know you have talent and it's not clicking, you get frustrated, especially losing to a team back-to-back nights that you're chasing when you know you still have a shot at the playoffs. So frustrating night for the Pistons, but it turns into a good night for the Bobcats. Like you said, the chemistry is clicking well for this team. You talked about how difficult it is to play a team on back-to-back nights. Kemba talked about it in the locker room when he talked with Dustin, said that he couldn't give enough credit to the coaching staff for the game plans that they had, the practices that they had, the shoot-arounds, that they just had this team ready to play, regardless if you're playing a team for the second night in a row, who you're playing. They were ready, and they came out and they executed.
You know, you talk about chemistry, and the chemistry has been great here this year. You know, chemistry's been a problem in the past when we've had players, and not meaning to be mean, but call it like it is, when you had a Tyrus Thomas who was not playing, Boris Diaw was not seeing eye to eye, things weren't going good, and even Ben Gordon at times right there was not. But, you know, the guys that are not getting minutes, if there's just not a place for minutes like Pardo and some of those guys right there, are continuing to be great team players when their opportunity comes up. Jeff Adrian, you know, some guys that just have not played in a long time, that they are staying sharp, and when they're needed, they step up and play.
Yeah, well, Coach Clifford said it from day one when he came in. He knew that this team was together, was ready to play, was focused, and knew what they needed to go get done. And it may have took them a little while to start a season to gel together with Al being hurt, Kemba out a week, but Coach Clifford talked about it when Kemba was out that week. A guy like Pargo, who hasn't played the whole year, comes in and steps up while he's out for that week and helps the Bobcats maintain where they need to stay at. So, you know, just everybody chipping in, doing their job, like you talked about, Coach, on this team. And Coach Clifford once again said it, that focus is one thing he didn't have to worry about with this team. And right now, with the focus, they've got the execution going. I think they finally – people don't realize, Coach, and you can talk about this as a coach, when you get a new player like Al Jefferson who is going to take the bulk of your shots and control it down in the post, it takes a while to learn how to play with that guy. And I think they're finally learning that. A perfect example tonight is Kemba Walker having a career high of 16 assists, Al Jefferson 29 points. So they're learning how to play together in a pick and roll. They're learning how, if Al gets it in the post, he can do what he needs to do. But if not, he can kick it out to a shooter like a McRoberts who had 3 threes, or like a Tolliver. So they finally learned how to play together, and they're gelling together as a team, and that's why, like we said, right now is the best basketball, and they have a chance to make this push at the playoffs.
And, you know, the thing I like, too, and looking at the stat sheet, especially, it looks a whole lot better when I turn it right side up. But you had your 2 best players tonight. Both of them took 20 shots. One of them ended up with 29 points. The other one ended up with 24 points. So you're getting the ball in the right hands of the people. You've got the right people taking the shots. But, you know, you look down the list right here, too, that the Bobcats put 6 guys in double figures tonight. Josh McRoberts, who does not shoot a lot, took 8 shots tonight, had 15 points. Back-to-back nights, hit 6 threes over a 2-night, 6 or 7 threes over a 2-night period right there, though. But again, these guys, in my opinion, the thing you like and the thing I loved about coaching, they don't care who the leading scorer is. They want to win. They want this franchise to be successful. And when you do that, you're going to be successful.
Well, you hit on a couple of great points there, Coach. The first one is you talk about your two best players getting 20 shots a game. I think any Bobcats fan who watches the Bobcats, who follows them closely, if you went in each night saying that your two best players are going to shoot 20 times each a game, you're going to take that because you're going to live and die by Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson. Everybody knows that. That's your two best players. But the thing about it is, Coach, those guys can take 20 shots like they did tonight, but they're not taken away from the rest of the offense. You just talked about it. All 5 starters in double figures, another guy off the bench in double figures. So even though those guys took a lot of shots, which they're allowed to do because they're the best players, they still were able to get the other guys involved. So it wasn't like they were just playing two-man basketball. They got everybody involved again. Even though Kemba had 24 points, he had 16 assists, a career high. That's amazing for a point guard in the NBA. So a great stat there. And the other thing you talked about, Coach, is just the way they're gelling together. I mean, we can't talk about it enough, Coach. This team is really coming together. Everybody's stepping up and doing their role. McRoberts is hitting shots, playing the gel guy. And the thing you talked about, and the coaches emphasized it and the players emphasized it, they don't care about individual recognition. They want to win. They want this organization to have a winner. They want to make the playoffs. Everybody talks about, Al Jefferson should have been an all-star, which I think he should have. You think he should have. But he joked around. He said, it would have been a great accomplishment, but I'm kind of happy I didn't make the all-star team. I got 4 days extra rest. I got to come in the gym and work a little bit during the break, and it helped him be ready for these 2 games tonight. So, again, they don't care at all about this individual recognition. They want to make the playoffs, and they want to win as a team together.
You know, the thing I like, too, I don't like, and I'm not criticizing the other media, though, but it's way too early to be talking playoffs right now. There's too many games to be playing right now, and I like that the players aren't buying into that. That right now they know they've got a tough stretch coming up real soon where they've got to go on the road and play some really good teams, got tough games coming up like that. And you can't be looking when you still got 20-something games to go. And, you know, I think Al knows it better than anybody because he thought he was in last year with his team, with the Utah team out there, and then goes down the final game and they get bumped.
Yep.
So you can't do that. You just got to keep playing good basketball. You can't listen to the fans. You can't listen to the reporters and all putting that playoff stuff in your head. You got to stay focused on what you've done so far this year, and like they say, take it game by game.
Definitely, it's a cliche, but you got to take it game by game. You got to look at the next game in front of you because that's the most important. Even though the Bobcats had 2 games with the Detroit Pistons who were behind them, you can't even look at it that way. That this is a team chasing you for the playoffs. You just got to go out there and play your style of basketball, not really worry about the other team. Worry about what you're doing. And the Bobcats have done that these 2 nights. And again, but as a fan and as a media, that's what's going to happen, Coach. A lot of people, I don't think, realize that they hear the All-Star break, they think, we're halfway through the season. Well, really, we're well over halfway through the season. We've only got 27 games left. So really, here in a couple of weeks, we are going to be in the crunch time. So I think it's good that they're taking it 1 game at a time, but I also think it's good that they're taking these as like tonight. Coach Clifford said this is little back-to-backs, like a mini little playoff series. You know that team's behind you, so go out there and take care of business. But again, they're not looking forward. They're just looking at the next opponent in front of them, which they did tonight. And right now, they've got it all working. I just can't. I mean, the players are playing well. I want to give them a lot of credit. Kemba Walker, Al Jefferson I think he's already having the best season as an individual Bobcat in team history in his first year here. But the thing that we got to continue to talk about, Coach, and I know you love talking about this because you are a coach, is this coaching staff. The way they've came in, the way they've changed this culture, they have this team believing, going out there and executing in their first year as a coach and staff. And I think they have this team believing that even though they are taking it 1 game at a time, this team believes they can make the playoffs, and I think they're going to make a strong push for it.
Well, again, with the coaching staff, I think that Coach Clifford has been around enough coaches to have picked up and absorbed and learned enough things. You've got him leading the way with his ideas, and he's waiting for his chance. He's getting his chance, doing a great job. You've got, NBA legend Patrick Ewing. You've got Mark Price, one of the greatest shooters ever in the NBA, and just to name a few. And the other coaches, Silas, and the other guys on the staff, Bobby Weiss, who was an all-star player with the Chicago Bulls many years ago. And it's like Kemba said tonight, these guys did a great job of playing last night and coming back in with a new game plan today. I mean, because you do a lot of the things that are successful, but you know the other team's going to counter and do things different. But they had a good game plan set up for this team to be successful.
Yeah, they did make the adjustments. They continue to execute on offense. And the thing they did better tonight than they did last night, in a win last night, was they rebounded the ball better. A Detroit team who really plays big when you have Monroe, who's kind of a center playing power forward, Drummond, who had 22 rebounds last night, and then Josh Smith, who's a power forward playing small forward. That's a big front line. And when you can come out here and grab 50 rebounds against them and out-rebound them, that's saying something. They didn't do that last night in the win, and they did it tonight, and they won by even more. So they saw their mistakes last night by not rebounding. They came out and played better defense, and again, another all-around performance. I think one of the things I wanted to say real quick in our show is Coach Clifford gave Al Jefferson one of the biggest compliments you can give anybody after the game. He said, you talked about how long he's been around. He's been around with guys like Dwight Howard, Tracy McGrady, Yao Ming in their primes, and he said that this is the best stretch of basketball he's seen from a player in his coaching year. So I don't think people get enough Al Jefferson does not get enough credit as far as what he's doing right now. But again, he doesn't care about that. But again, I think it should be known that the guy is playing some of the best basketball, not just on our team, but in the NBA. I mean, the guy's doing it all.
And again, just kind of recapping what you said, the Bobcats won the Battle of the Boards tonight, 49-31. Question was asked during the break, did the Bobcats and their fans get their money's worth for what they paid to get Al Jefferson?
Well, you know, and I think my answer was to you, Coach, up there, if I had $10 million more, I'd pay him $10 million more. Because like I said, it's hard to say this when you haven't done a complete season, but the guy is probably having the best season as a Bobcat in team history. Maybe Gerald Wallace's All-Star year is the only one that you can put up with it. Think about this. We hadn't even played a full season, and he's already tied for fourth on the list with most 30-point games. I mean, the guy's doing it all. He's going to give you almost 30 on every night. The only reason he didn't give you 30 tonight is because they took him out with 3 minutes left, and he had 29. So, I mean, you can't ask the guy to do anymore. People wanted to hate on his defense, and his defense is not the greatest. But he does help play. He said he's trying to get better on defense. But when a guy gives you 30 points a night, Coach, I think you can be all right with his defense on the other end of the floor.
Well, you got to look, and he knows his limitations. He is not a leaper.
Right.
It's like he got one under the basket tonight, and probably most big men would have gone up, jammed it, and finished it. Well, he tried, but that's not his thing. But he is the man of many moves, and he knows his limitations, but he's smart enough to make up for him with all the post moves he's got to get his shot off, get open. He's not going to out-jump you for a jump ball or, in a lot of cases, rebound. He gets good position. He uses that wide body, and he's a smart player.
And he still gives you double-digit rebounds every night.
Right.
You know, his individual one-on-one defense against other guys might not be the greatest, and he may not be a great leaper, but like you said, he uses his body for position. And tonight he only had 9 rebounds, but last night he had 12. Normally, I think this last stretch, somebody said he's averaging like 32 and 14. So he's giving you the points and the rebounds. You can't ask this guy to do any more, and I think it's finally great now that he's doing that. The rest of the team has benefited from it as well. It's not just, oh, let's get Al all his numbers, nobody else do anything, let's see if Al can win it for us. Kemba comes out, has 16 assists. Where do you think Joshua Roberts is knocking down all these threes? Tyler knocking down all these threes is from double teams in the post and Al kicking it out to these shooters. And I think that's why it's good that maybe the Bobcats, I know we're transitioning here, that the Bobcats are looking at a shooter on the trade deadline, because if you can add another shooter on the perimeter to go for Al to pass out to, the guy had 7 assists last night. This team could really be dangerous.
When that leads me to, I've got 2 things I want to talk to before we run out of battery right here. Was trade deadline comes up tomorrow. What, if any, do you see this team do?
It is going to be a fun trade deadline. If you're a Bobcats fan, I would just say get on Twitter, keep refreshing your timeline, check for the updates, because I do think the Bobcats are going to make a move. I'm not going to say what size move they make, whether it's a minor move to try to add a bench player, whether it's to try to get a starter. I think right now their number one concern is whether if they just do only one deal, I think they're looking to get a shooter. I got names that have been mentioned, Coach, are Gary Neal, who played for the Spurs last year, 3-point specialist, shooting guard. Another guy, Anthony Morrow, shooting guard from Charlotte, who leads the league in 3-point percentage. Those are the kind of guys I think they're looking to add, because one of the things, if you look at, Coach, who's their shooting guard off the bench? It's Ramon Sessions. Who's their backup point guard off the bench? It's Ramon Sessions. Right. So he's playing kind of a double role. If you can get another shooter to be a backup shooting guard behind Henderson off the bench, you really feel a need there. You help with your 3-point shooting, and you help manage the minutes of Sessions so he can play more backup point guard and get away from the shooting guard.
And it does not necessarily have to be anybody long term, because you'll have Jeffrey Taylor coming back next year.
That's right. So
will fit in there.
So like I said, I don't know what size move they make, but I do say hang on, because I think with the Bobcats winning these 2 games, the front office knows that they have a good team and they can make a playoff push. So I think they will look to make a move tomorrow. Regardless of how big it is, I see a move being made.
All right, back-to-back 2 big games, Friday and Saturday. The Pelicans are on the bill for Friday night. I thought you'd like that.
I like that.
The Pelicans are on the bill. They come to town, New Orleans, and then you've got coming the next night, the Grizzlies. So it should be a Grizzly game that they have to play on Saturday night. These are 2 teams this team is capable of beating. They've got back-to-back winning streak right now. What is the winning streak?
It's back-to-back 2 games in a row, because they lost to the Nets before the All-Star break.
Right.
They've won 3 of 4, though, because they beat the Mavericks last week, too. So 3 out of 4.
Okay, but coming in right now, though, so this could be and those are 2 teams that are good teams right there, that they got a chance to win. Do you think, what kind of crowd, kind of a sparse crowd tonight on a Wednesday night with a not very good Detroit team coming in there, though, but what do you think it looks like for this weekend?
Detroit's not a good draw, but I do see 2 decent crowds on Friday and Saturday. For one, you got the Pelicans coming in with a guy like Anthony Davis, who the Bobcats maybe thought in the past they would have. They didn't get that pick. So they have some talent on their team. Also, that team used to be the Hornets, so some teams come drawing just from seeing that. plus with the Bobcats playing better, I see good crowds on the weekends. These, like you said, Coach, these are 2 tough games. I mean, the Pelicans are not in the playoff race, but that's because they're in the Western Conference out there. If they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be right there with us in the playoff race. They got an all-star playing Anthony Davis. That's going to be a tough game, but like you said, it's a winnable game. I think the Saturday night game is going to be even harder. You get a team like the Grizzlies, who is, right there in the playoff hunt. They make the playoffs normally every year in the West these last few years. So these are 2 tough games in the Western Conference that you could really go out there and finish this week off strong, like you talked about, and make a statement right after the All-Star break. The fun thing I want to see, and you know this guy very well, is the center matchup on Saturday night. You got a guy, Al Jefferson, who's playing some of the best basketball of his career, going against an All-Star center in Marc Gasol. So wasn't an All-Star year this year, but normally is. So that's going to be the matchup I want to watch on Saturday night.
So, should be a good one. Want to encourage you to get a chance to come out and see him play. The Bobcats are on a roll right now. Coach Cox is on a roll. He wins bow tie night tonight. So it's a good night at Time Warner Cable Arena. For Dustin Phifer, I'm the Coach Dick Cox. We'll be back after the game Friday night to give you our wrap-up on the court. Until then, have a good week, everybody.